yesterday, more important business, the mother of a fallen soldier talking about Biden.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. The Daryl Issa held the congressional forum for the Gold Star families of the 13 service members that we lost in Afghanistan with the withdrawal.
Right.
And the
one that went so well and couldn't have gone any better?
Perfect.
Yeah, couldn't have gone any better.
And the family spoke in California. And these three parents, Cheryl Rex, Christy Shamlin, and Darren Hoover, I mean, just pretty much sum up how it went, how they feel, how just incredibly horrible the situation was. This is Cheryl Rex, the mother of Lance Corporal Dylan Marola.
Starts with number 4.
When Joe Biden, our elected president, entered the room, when he approached me, his words to me were, my wife Jill and I know how you feel. We lost our son as well and brought him home in a flag-draped coffin.
What?
My heart started beating faster, and I started shaking, knowing that their son died from cancer and they were able to be by his side. Also wondering how someone could honestly, be so heartless to say he knew how I felt a little over 24 hours and learning of my son's death.
Man.
After this encounter, I have never had any personal correspondence, nor has my son been honored or his name spoken by this commander-in-chief or his administration on what I feel is because of their failures and poor planning to exit our troops from Afghanistan.
Despicable. Absolutely despicable.
You aren't kidding.
First of all, it's always about him. It's always about him. And for him to lie and say that his son came home in a flag-draped coffin from Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever he's alleging, it's just a stinking lie. It didn't happen.
And everyone knows it.
Everybody, including that Gold Star mother who's there suffering and grieving over her son. She said it was 24 hours later. My gosh. Oh, my gosh. And then he's trying to make it about him and lying and trying to steal that valor. Wow, is that despicable?
Then there is...
Wow. He should be impeached over that, if
I don't
nothing
disagree.
else.
This is the same event where he looked at his watch multiple times.
Right.
And I will say that...
he just didn't have time.
I have a human in my house who's a veteran of a foreign war, by the way.
And did he appreciate
he did not.
the commander-in-chief checking his watch?
Not.
Oh, really?
He did not appreciate that at all.
I'm surprised.
There were some very strong words said since, during the time, and since about that event. Yes,
that's interesting.
I mean, it is very interesting.
Is there a number he can call, Ivan?
He would love to call it. I'll tell you that.
Oh man, your father-in-law is a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah,
and so he's not stealing anybody's valor.
No,
he's got
not.
his own. He's got his own. And the vets are the ones who, have to bear the brunt of this guy's disgrace more than anybody else. I mean, and it's absolutely disgraceful. Wow.
Okay, so
the mother-in-law of a fallen soldier talked about Biden.
Christy Shamlin talks about the ultimate disrespect here. She is the mother-in-law of Marine Sergeant Nicole G.
I live every single day knowing that these deaths were preventable. My daughter could be with us today. And that wasn't just one decision. It was many decisions. Many times over, it could have been stopped. So to call it a success is an ultimate disrespect for the very people that deserve every ounce of respect that we can give them. That day, there were 13 avoidable deaths of our service members, 30 plus critically wounded warriors who have our hearts. These young men and women came back bigger patriots than they left. I don't know how that's possible, and I admire them from the bottom of my heart. We left thousands of allies behind. Billions of dollars in resources for them to use against us. This was not a success.
Heartbreaking.
It sure is.
That just tears you up.
It sure is. Then
There's no words there.
Darren Hoover, the father of fallen Marine Darren T. Hoover, has some choice words for the entire administration.
To have the ambassador to Afghanistan changed out midway through all of this should be a huge red flag. Why was that done? Because the prior ambassador was not on board with the decisions being made and the way it was being handled? If that's the case, then something needs to be done. In closing, I'm calling out Secretary Blinken, Secretary Austin, General Milley, General McKenzie, Lieutenant Colonel Whitehead, who could not give the order to the snipers to take out the bomber before he detonated his vest, and ultimately the president. Do what our son did. Be a grown-ass man. Admit to your mistakes. Learn from them so that this doesn't happen ever again. You all need to resign immediately. Our sons and daughters have more integrity in their little toes than every one of them combined. You owe it to our families here today, to the other Gold and Silver Star families that have gone before, and most of all to the veterans who have given so much for this country so that we have the freedoms that we enjoy today. Thank you.
Sadly, there will never be any responsibility taken for what happened in Afghanistan during that withdrawal. Sadly, he will not ever fess up and be a grown-ass man.
way.
He won't. He's not going to.
They already said that it went perfectly.
Couldn't have gone any better. Couldn't have gone any better.
From my perch, remember who was, what's his face from the Pentagon? From my perch, everything was perfect.
What a kick in the teeth to these Gold Star families. And he's right up until the event happened, they could have stopped it. They had snipers with the guy with the suicide bomber in his sights, and he couldn't get the go-ahead to drop him. It's unbelievable.
It is.
I mean, one screw-up after another. It didn't have to happen, ever. And they could have prevented it right up to the last minute and didn't. And there's never been 1 ounce of responsibility taken by this guy who claimed that the buck was going to stop with him, that he was going to take responsibility. Oh, okay. And not once since he said that has he ever done it. Nope. Quite the opposite, in fact. He's blamed everything that's happened ever since on others. Every time. Single time. Every time. And then claims that things are going great when they're not. It's wow. But that's where we are. That's where we are in America, with the worst leadership we have ever had in this nation. I mean, if it weren't for the Nazis and several communist regimes, these would be the worst leaders in world history. But only because there hasn't been genocide in this country can I let them off that hook. But they're the worst we've ever had, that's for sure. They're the worst we've ever had. And that includes Jimmy Carter. And that includes Barack Obama. And that includes even what's-his-face, Woodrow Wilson. as far as I'm concerned. Just the worst, the absolute worst.